Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And due to the evil Dr. Wong, if anybody remembers from past episodes, Dunigan's landlord, he has taken away the power from the whole building in San Francisco because of his evil might and how he hates refrigerators that are small.
Yeah, all right, well, let's get into that, okay? Yeah, so right now, the way we're doing this very, ghetto style. I'm imagining it probably sounds kind of like, not that it's ghetto, but imagine it probably sounds like Larry King, like, caller, you're on the air. Imagine that's how it probably sounds at the moment. But what ended up happening is I come home one day, no fucking power. I flip the circuit breaker on and off, still no power. I call him like, hey, man, what the fuck? We have had no power for like a whole day. Get back to me. And he's like the think of the most stereotypical 80-year-old Chinese man, the most racist stereotype. That's what this guy is. I mean, if I did an impression of him right now, which he's like, hello, I'm Dr. Wong, right? If I do that, I know that's offensive and racist. But that's exactly how the guy fucking talks and sounds.
Well, you know, to every stereotype, there is a lot of truth. It's not saying that that's everybody, but there is always those bad stereotypes that exist in the world, and Dr. Wong is one of them.
He is like one of them to the T. So he rolls in the next day. He's like, all right, so here's what happened. You have too many things plugged in, too many microwaves, too many refrigerators, plus other household appliances that take away power. This is old place. It's very old place. It cannot stand power, so no rule. You can't do this. So the guy threatens to come in and take all the goddamn, extra, microwaves and refrigerators, which I'm pretty sure is fucking legal in the first place. And then he also, one of my roommates drops this. He's just like, "Oh, dude, yeah, we got to notice, man. We got to notice some PG&E." And these guys, he grabbed it because if this Dr. Wong got across of it, it would probably be in the trash. So we have it for the proof. This motherfucker hasn't paid his electricity bill in I don't know how long. And the way it works is he pays it, we pay him back. So right now, it's just like, oh, goddamn, you know?
So he's been taking money from you, and I'm surprised, because mostly PG&E, they're pretty jiffy on the spot that if you don't pay that bill, it's kind of like, okay, we'll just turn it off on you. You'll know that come pay it now because you got nothing.
Exactly. So, yeah, this guy he has not paid it in I don't know how long. So, yeah, I just had no power for the last 3 days. Feels like, it's kind of sad, actually. Not so much the fact we don't have power. I mean, that sucks, but I've kind of learned some sad things about myself regarding this. Usually when I get home, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll watch some Netflix, do some working on some drawings, maybe do a little bit of writing. But I get home, and I got time. I got a few hours. Probably got to go to bed, go to work the next day. But I'm just like, just call it a day. Just go to sleep till 8 o'clock at night. I'm done. I can't play PS4. I can't watch Netflix. I can probably last a little while on my laptop, but fuck it. Can't listen to Spotify. So what's the point?
Well, I noticed with myself, when it snows really hard and then the power goes out for a while, and there's really one of those ones, it's like when the power goes out, you kind of have this feeling like, I can catch up on all this reading I have. But I don't know what it is. The second that power is gone, the idea of reading just goes out the window. It's like, fuck that. I'll read all day long the second the power comes on, but I don't know what it is. I want my TV back on. I want my computer. I want all this stuff. I can only go out and play in the snow for so long.
You just want to know it's there. It's there if I want it to be. If I need it, it's there. Not that I want it. I just in case,
Yeah,
it's a weird kind of it's a weird relationship we have with it, where it's kind of it's almost like a security blanket.
Well, it's sort of like, I've come to the conclusion, it's like the computer is generally it's all I know sometimes, It's that's where all my expertise lies. So the second that there's no electricity, I'm that man who's not ready for the apocalypse yet. I'm like, oh crap, now I gotta get some more skills, that will help me in the survival method. But till then, fuck it, I'm just gonna sit here on the couch and wait till that power comes on. And not
every
read.
Once in a while you'll fantasize about oh yeah, it's fucking apocalypse, or being like the Wild West, something like that. But then something like this happens, just snaps you back right into reality. Like, oh yeah, no, that I wouldn't last a fucking day, just because. What I've been doing is, if I have a little bit of time, because I kind of need my phone for my job. I work different locations, and I have to hop from different spots. So I have to go, maybe I'll go charge my phone for an hour at some random coffee shop somewhere. I'm usually someone who just goes in there. Before I used to sit in there and just be on the computer for a while because I didn't have Wi-Fi back in Sonora, but now I do. So it's what's when we going out all that much for Wi-Fi. But now what I've been doing lately is I've been going there with a fucking charging my phone, reading a book for an hour, and then leaving. So now I'm just literally becoming that guy who just sits in the corner, just jacking the electricity to charge up his phone.
Yeah, sipping a tea very slowly to make the most of it.
Not even that, grabbing, buying a can of Sprite, slowly sipping it,
Yeah, you're just I gotta make this dollar Sprite last a while, I got an hour to charge my phone up for the night.
$1.25 Sprite, actually. I think they know once they see you're the guy that didn't buy the tea or didn't buy the latte, when you're the guy that bought, the canned product you can get anywhere else, I think that's the indicator, yeah, that guy's here for the Wi-Fi or some bullshit.
Yeah, he's clearly not here for the soda. He could go to Safeway or somewhere like that for that. He's here for something different.
You also get that thing kind of not to sound like a cheap bastard, but if I buy a can of soda or something, I don't gotta leave a tip.
No, because nobody served you. That's always the indication on how you leave a tip. As both me and you are high tippers in the world, there is that certain thing that's just if I'm not being served, if I'm doing all the work myself, I should be tipping myself.
you just very defiantly slam a can of Sprite, just slide it over them. You pay them do it. What? Do it.
Crack it open.
Open it.
You want a tip, don't you?
That's had to happen at some point. There's got to be some asshole that, because, you occasionally get some prick that, expects, the world and more if you just go over to, a Subway or something. There's got to be some asshole that's just no. You walk around the counter and fill up my soda over at the fountain over there. Do it!
I want to be served, goddammit!
And then he just drops a quarter in their little plastic box they got there.
Yeah, thanks for your effort. There you go. Go play some Pac-Man.
Nowadays, you're back 25 cents used to get a Pac-Man. Now it's probably 50 this day and age.
Yeah, a lot of Pac-Man machines run for 50 when you find them.
There's some old man porch talk. Back in my day, Pac-Man was 25 cents. Now it's 50.
I know. I always hated when you get all the really big arcades of the 90s and they're all $1, and it's just $1.
And they'd be fuck you, where are you gonna go? And now we live in the day of emulators. It's oh shit.
Yeah, even though a lot of those arcade games though still can't be emulated as well because you don't have all the guns or the arcade cabinet or the unit or the seats or all the special things that make that arcade game actually really cool.
Well, I guess for something something the Lost World arcade game, or maybe one of the later Time Crises where you have to step on a pedal in order to make your character duck and that kind of shit.
Yeah, well, that's all the Time Crises are like that.
I thought you would actually just move the gun down. They all have the pedal.
Yeah, the pedal's always been there.
I guess a lot of light gun games just kind of run together for me. But I just always remember for cover, just move the gun to the left, or you have to shoot the bullets or something. I guess the thing about Time Crisis, that's one of the ones where it's taking cover is a basic mechanic of the game, I guess, now that I'm thinking about that one.
No, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of Police 911 by Konami.
Oh, okay.
That was the one where you could move to the side and then pop out and shoot them. That game was so fucking cool. I haven't seen it in arcades forever.
Or either there's the ones where there's always a thing I can just shoot the bullet out of the way.
And the ones where they're moving slower.
Yeah, which I'm it's almost kind of like Bullet Bill kind of to an extent. Shit, they make a Mario first-person shooter. Do that. I like to see a very intense, not like anything has to be rated M or nothing, but just give it a stab a Mario first-person shooter. I know that's what Yoshi's Safari is. I never played it, but I'm assuming it's just kind of like Doom on the back of Yoshi, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think it's I never played it myself, but I remember watching somebody play because I never had the Super Scope. Fuck, I should go out and buy a Super Scope just for that reason. I don't have one. Why don't I just go and buy one and experience this Yoshi's World or Yoshi Safari? But I think he just rode on his back and he just shot targets. I don't think it was anything amazing. It wasn't. If it was like Doom in a Mario World, that'd probably be really badass. But I don't think it was like that.
So that would have been kind of cool. Cause I thought of that some years back. Like, they should take a stab. It's like, I remember it was like, I was visiting a friend of mine in Oregon, and it was kind of, I knew him and maybe one other guy there, but everybody else was all their friends, people I didn't really know. And we were all playing Smash Brothers. At some point, I feel like, they should make like a Mario first-person shooter. Just take a stab at it. I mean, it doesn't have to be rated R, it doesn't have to be rated M or nothing. Just give it a shot. Everybody just gets quiet and looks at me like I just said, you know what, Hitler wasn't such a bad guy.
Yeah. Just saying, he had some good ideas.
Look at me like, the fuck did you just say?
Like some blasphemy.
I spoke like the name that shall not be named,
Exactly. Did you hear that thing, Mortal Kombat X just came out, and there's that character Kung Jin in it, who's I think he's related to Kung Lao, like his younger brother or something. But apparently that character is gay, and people flipped it out to the max about it.
Well, that's bound to happen. I mean, I'm not saying it should happen, but I mean, the sanest thing could happen. I mean, what was it? I'm not trying to take it back to Batman, but I kind of am. Like in Gates of Gotham, they introduced that one character, the Night Runner, and he was like French and Middle Eastern, and for whatever reason, a lot of right-wing comic fans what the fuck is a French Middle Eastern guy doing? Is working as Batman's partner, So if they're gonna freak out over that, I could totally see them. Something is kind of manly and bloody is Mortal Kombat. Having suddenly a bunch of guys question their own sexuality over a gay character.
Well, yeah, because I just read this article on it, and then they had a bunch of tweets and stuff that were quoted, and people were like, that was my favorite character, but I'm never playing as him ever again. And then just things like that, just dude, what?
They just assume. I think one thing is they the most right-wing person. I think the second they find out there's a gay character in anything, they think this is where it starts. Next thing you know, his fatality is going to be Jim's dick in someone's mouth that goes out the back of their head.
Yeah, he's going to be bending Raiden over and fucking butt-fucking him on the screen, and I can't take that.
His dick's going to come out of Raiden's mouth, and then his eyes are going to explode with jizz, yeah. The gayest fatality possible.
Yeah, and I think it's those ones, I think some people might go, Kung Jin, that's the guy I related to. That's when I play Mortal Kombat, that's me on the screen. So what is that saying if he's gay?
I guess it means you just want a big flappy cock in your mouth. I guess that's what it means at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so. Just, accept it. And it's really weird, because, the way that, people figured out is, all it is that Raiden has, a line or something, because I haven't played the game yet. I'd like to go out and get it, but till that day. Raiden says something in one of the videos where he's like, something like, whatever your heart desires, it doesn't matter, who you choose with your heart. And for some reason, it's not like he's like, oh, if you want a big fat cock in your mouth, I don't care, I'm Raiden, I'm cool with it.
What if he just said that, out of nowhere?
I mean, I hopefully you don't want my cock. I mean, not like I'm gay or anything, nothing there's anything wrong with it, but, I'm Raiden, I'm kind of straight, but, I mean, fuck, you do what you want to do, Kung Jin. Fucking come Jin, you can do what you want.
That includes, you can do what you want. That includes, jamming your dick in some dude's mouth, as long as he's cool with it.
Yeah, hell, if you want that to be your fatality, I'm all for it.
The poignant, soulful writing of Mortal Kombat X.
It's just one of those ones, it's just so funny that people just flip out so much. And it's not even as I said, it's I could see if, it was, the character was, really gay. He was, maybe beating people down with, purple dildos and then, and, jerking them off in his mouth, when he wins and just, white stuff's just going all over him and everything. It'd be, if he was, flamboyantly, extremely gay, that would be one thing.
It's this joke probably hasn't been made yet, but gay-tality,
Yeah, exactly. If everything was super gay in it or something like that, then yeah, okay, maybe I can see where somebody being okay, that's a little too much, But just for the character to have that light, let your heart decide who you want to love, kind of thing, and that's the.
That makes someone mad. Oh,
Yeah.
Someone said that to me once. My dad said, "Don't listen to that. They're just trying to convert you."
You're like, I stopped playing Mortal Kombat after that, and I went back to Street Fighter, and I'll never go back to the Mortal Kombat anymore.
Now, I don't know Mortal Kombat like I know Street Fighter. The ones I know, there's Baraka, there's pretty much all the characters in the movie. And is this the dude who has like the guy he's not Raiden, but he's the guy with the long hat that's kind of like a saw?
No, that's Kung Lao. That's who that is. I think he's related to him. See, this character, he's either a new character in number 10, or he came from one of the PS2 ones, because I didn't play all those ones that in depth.
Okay, so he's not. I thought he was like Luke, because this one I know I haven't played it. I just heard them kind of talk about it in Rage Select. I'm a little behind on Rage Select, so they probably covered this by now. But I know they're bringing in sons and daughters of characters in this game to kind of replace other characters. Is he the son of somebody, or is he just his own character who's always kind of been here?
I want to say he's the younger brother of Kung Lao.
Okay, and Liu Kang, that's the guy in the movie, right? That's the main character?
Yeah, that's the main kind of other than Scorpion and Raiden. Yeah, he's Ryu of the Mortal Kombat universe.
Okay.
So yeah, this guy, as I said, he's either a new character for 10, or he might have been in one of the PS2 ones. Because during PlayStation, during those ones, when those ones kind of came out, pretty much after Mortal Kombat 4, it sort of lost it for me. And I think it was the fact that the game pretty much became a brand new game. It had characters you knew and loved, but the controls and everything were not the same way. And that, to me, just kind of threw me off. It's sort of like, if I went to go play Street Fighter and they said, okay, the Hadouken is not like a quarter circle anymore. It's now up, down, left, right. You'd be like, why? That'd throw me off. And that's kind of how that game was. So everything you learned from the past, you could forget.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about that. And the last one they did before this is the one that kind of helped bring a lot of people back. Plus, they did, the J.J. Abrams thing. They went back in time and stopped all that shit that pissed people off from ever happening. Yeah,
exactly. And that one, the cool thing, too, is it kind of, the controls are back to the normal way they were. I mean, maybe some things were a little bit different, but in general, it was the way you remembered Mortal Kombat. And I always thought the thing to do now it's probably a little bit too late, but if I would have jumped into those other Mortal Kombat games, just think of them as you're not playing Mortal Kombat 1 through 4, you're playing Mortal Kombat, just something else that seems to have the same characters, but it's different. But too late for that.
Well, I'm sure that this thing will probably... I wonder if there's going to come... I think what might piss people off is when they just make a character gay, just for the sake of making him gay. If he's his own character, I don't really know anything about him. And I'm not, defending this, homophobia. He's gay, I'm not going to play the fucking game anymore. But I think every once in a while they might do something like that just to kind of, stir some controversy, just to bring more eyes to it. I think that kind of happens every once in a while, and that doesn't, ruin it for me or anything, but sometimes I just feel it doesn't seem sincere. It just seems like, I kind of see what you guys are trying to do. This character, I don't know enough about, but it doesn't seem like anything being worth, getting angry about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there was some comments where people said, and these are more logical reasons, not just, hating someone to be gay, but they were saying, they're like, is this some ploy that they have to throw in a gay character nowadays? And, that's always something that kind of bothers me, is when they just throw it in there just to have it in there. I just think, let the natural progression happen. If this character just happens to be gay, then that's just totally fine. But don't, shoehorn it in there just to get in there. Which, this, once again, just really doesn't sell. I mean, maybe his heart doesn't even desire another gay man. Maybe he loves dogs or something. I don't know. Fuck. Raiden wasn't specific on it.
Well, I think, now it's actually becoming a little bit... I didn't play it. I never seen it, but... Well, I've seen the first one. You know that show, Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a handful of episodes of that one, and what I saw of it was good. There's the sequel series, which I think is called Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
This one friend of mine was telling me about it, and I've never seen the sequel show, but he's telling me about it, and spoilers, at the end, they hint that the main character, who's a girl, is gay. So, and that's pretty ballsy, especially for being a kids show.
Yeah, Nickelodeon of all places. Those are two shows I've always wanted to sit down and watch, because I've always heard good things about them, and I've heard them from people that I trust their sources to, not just anybody, but people that are really into animation and anime and so on. And it's just...
Go ahead.
I say, it's just one of the many ones that's just once you go through the rest of the stack of the world of all our choices, I'd like to sit down and watch them, and at some point I should just go out and pick them up and just take a look and just see what I'm missing out on. But that is a pretty ballsy thing, though.
I haven't seen it, and he just told me they don't even come out and flat out say it, but there's these two girl characters, the main character and I guess the friend she makes at some point. They have a very close relationship, and at the very end,
Raiden shows up and says, "Go with what your heart desires."
he just shows up. He's just like, "Go with your heart desires." That's a badge of your mouth. Go for him. Just Raiden. So what I do, just lightning bolts off. Yeah.
Raiden now just shows up in other people's worlds and just tells people to make the right decision. He's like, "Do the right thing. Go with what the heart desires. It doesn't matter."
Raiden's a recruiter. He's trying to Raiden. He's making people gay. You know.
Raiden's a pro-gay supporter. I don't like him no more. He's not my thunder god.
He just starts like jumping into like other genres and things and it's when we get to like Batman v Superman when they become friends at the end, he just lightning bolts down. Yeah, if you guys do your heart desires, what do you think? If you guys want to have a dick in your mouth, go right ahead.
If you guys just want to butt fuck everybody in front of Metropolis, just go for it, man. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Like fucking free world now. It's past 2000s. Thunder God out.
That's all he's in there for. They just randomly drop Raiden and like properties that he's not even a part of.
Some of the other people start going like, man, I'm like, I think Raiden might just really want to see two dudes just fucking public. I think that's what he's really wanting.
Well, they probably don't got internet like in the
Netherrealm.
They don't got internet there. They probably don't. So he's like, you know what? And like, it's a very, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very macho world here. It's very behind the times. I just want to see this. Most people, if you see this, they execute you, and it's not like, oh yeah, just a simple guillotine. No, they got this place though. Isn't like hell basically or something like that down there?
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like two kind of worlds, I guess you would say. They're sort of like, it's almost like it's heaven and hell without calling it that. But in the Netherrealm, but still, in the Netherrealm, you might have Goro. Like, he's down there in a prison. So what do you think he's doing? He's like the high-end person down there in that kind of prison area. He's probably using all four arms to, like, grab people and rape them in prison.
He's using all four arms for a massive bukkake.
Yes, he's like jerking off two other guys at the same time, too.
For a solid fucking fact that's got to be on the internet somewhere. I'm not going to look it up. It's got to be there.
I know. Just making Mortal Kombat just into, like, the most gayest game there is now.
It's like it took us this long to realize Goro, that's what he has those arms for. Jack, he has those big, giant metal arms,
Well, apparently he's also got 4 dicks, too.
I took everybody this long to realize, like, oh wow, this has always been here. It's just now we're just realizing it all.
Yeah, it's like apparently Raiden really just wants to see two men like do it in public. Goro has 4 dicks, and Kung Jin apparently gay. So damn.
And it's not like he wants to be part of it. He just wants to see it so he can say he saw it.
Yeah, he's just curious.
Yeah. He'll just like sit there with his arms, like not smile, not laugh, just sit there with his arms crossed, like
huh.
Interesting.
He takes a magnifying glass up. He's examining it closer.
You might hear him like mutter himself briefly, like, "Oh, that's fucked up."
He's like, wow. And at the very end, he's clapping like, bravo, bravo.
I see it more like very serious, kind of like, not like, oh, what a show, but more like, nice work, gentlemen, good work,
I feel like it's a progressive thing. It's just like at first it's just almost like he's inquisitive about it. And then it just progresses to like where he's just almost like mind blown to the point just like, this is just great. This is just love in the air, and I'm Raiden, and I deserve to, see the world be a better place.
Yes, well, the elasticity of like Johnny Cage's asshole to Jackson's fist, wow.
Well, speaking of another very manly thing.
This is quite possibly the gayest episode we've ever recorded.
I know, I was thinking about that too. So let's jump to another manly thing, about a man and a boy and their feud among each other, and another man who's getting in the way of a man raising his boy. Well, I don't know if that sounds gayer. And he's got another man who's standing around kind of in between them all. Which is Batman versus Robin.
This is the problem. I can't see a computer face or nothing, so I don't really know what to do. All right. Yeah, Batman versus Robin.
And man, those DCU movies, they always seem to impress me. I mean, there's always a couple ones every once in a while that they're not like they're bad whatsoever, but they're not maybe up to par compared to some of the other ones. But it at least every 3 of them or so, they just come out with these movies that are just fantastic, close to 4 out of 4 movies, if not even 4 out of 4. I mean, I personally look more forward to those DCU animated films than I do almost anything else coming out, live action and everything along the lines there.
This is, like, I think definitely one of the best animated DCU movies. I'm going to say the best one, I mean, I am being a little biased here, that is Dark Knight Returns. Like, if you put them both together, I think that's the best one. From there, it's kind of a little hard for me to choose. I mean, I got probably my top 5 within there. I don't really know what order to place them in. But this one, I think, just might be number 2, because Batman and Son, that one was a lot more action. There was a little bit of, like, heart and drama in it, but it was more just a lot of action, a lot of badass action. But this one, it actually, I thought everything was just perfectly balanced throughout the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And then it just, The Court of Owls is such a good story, and I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't, like, I guess Batman versus Robin's maybe a more, like, wider appealing title, because I'm surprised they didn't just call it, like, Batman Court of Owls, the capture, the comic book audience. But maybe, I think the way they're looking at it is that the only audience that knows Court of Owls is the comic book audience, but the regular, like, ones that might just see the movies or the TV shows has no idea what the Court of Owls is, so this is sort of the introduction into it. And if you I mean, it is a smart title, Batman versus Robin. I think that captures a lot of, like, the average Batman fans out there. They just want to see, I want to see fucking Batman and Robin throwing punches at each other.
Well, what I thought was cool about this movie is, you got generally 2 types of DCU movies. You got the ones that try to stay as truthful as possible. They might make changes in case of like, just for the sake of making a movie in time. And then you got the ones where they take the basic idea and they kind of go their own way with it. And depending on what you're working on, I think that's kind of the best way to go about it. I think Dark Knight Returns, that one is fine. I cannot really imagine them, like, changing too much of Dark Knight Returns. I mean, they kept that pretty accurate for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, there are other ones where it's just kind of like, well, I understand what you're trying to do, but still, it seems like you kind of left a lot out. In this one, they just took some of the best parts of 2 really. Well, one of them, it's actually a little bit more of, like, they took elements of like, major elements of one story, and then they took, like, elements of, like, Grant Morrison's run on before the 52. Even though that was Dick Grayson, the Batman and Robin run before the 52, that was I feel like it still took a lot of inspiration from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, actually, did you ever read the Batman and Robin New 52 ones?
No, I'm assuming there's some of that in there. But
yeah.
Because that dollmaker scene at the very beginning, that felt like, I haven't read all that Grant Morrison run. There's still a few more books I got to get before it leads into the 52, but I feel like that's probably something he did right there, or at least that's something definitely really inspired by him.
Yeah, because it does have that thing, like, it's sort of like a Court of Owls, and then, yeah, I can see the Grant Morrison stuff, but then it does have a lot of, like, to do with, like, that Batman, like, the New 52 Batman and Robin series. I really like that one a lot, and it just kind of it was just more like those father-son emotional stories, in a sense, but mixed with good Batman action. But so it had that kind of element too, because that's sort of like where they are, like, they're finding their groove together as father and son, and also as, like, partner and co-partner, or Jedi and Padawan, or whatever you want to call it. It's that sort of thing, like, it's coming together, and that's what this movie sort of has in it too.
Something I do like about it, though, is it's not really, like, Damien still fucks up, but it's not, like, anything to the level of, like, you don't give me a chance. Well, yeah, because you keep fucking up. It's like Damien knows what he's doing. It's just, it's not in line with the way Bruce does things. And I think that's kind of a smart way to do that, because too often I think we see, whenever you have that kind of, like, partner relationship, it's like, he just won't trust me. He won't give me a chance. Yeah, because you're a fuck-up. In this case, it's like, he's not a fuck-up. He's just, they're just 2 very different work styles. I think that's what's kind of cool about it.
Yeah, he's on the line of between being, like, a true crime fighter to being sort of a Punisher assassin crime fighter. And it's just that, and that's what the cool thing too is, they put Talon in there as this, for some reason, other surrogate father who's almost saying, like, I'm like Batman. We do the same thing, but there's no lines I won't cross to get to my goal, accomplished. And he's like, Damien, you were trained as an assassin. You're not that much different than I am.
I will say that there's something I was going to say when they merge like different stories together. Because what they usually do is they don't take two really different stories and throw them together. They usually just take the bare bones concept of one run or of one story and just kind of go from there. This one, they took two different ones and just picked and pulled, and I think that's what was really awesome about it. And in this, something that I thought was sweet, they changed some stuff. I mean, because there's so much in both of those. Like, the thing about Talon, the particular Talon they chose, I mean, they made it as if, like, here's the one Talon, these are all just minions, where he was actually, in the comic, Talon was just one of those mini Talons that came in at the big end of at the end of the movie when they attacked the Batcave.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the grandfather or the great grandfather of Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't alive. He was one of those kind of like, I guess, I don't know what, it sounds ridiculous when I say this, but I mean, but no better way to describe it, one of those zombie ninja people that was kept alive by like this H.G. Wells looking technology. So,
yeah.
I think that right. Plus, there's also the plot line with like Bruce's potential lost brother also being a Talon. So they could have fit all that stuff in there, and I understand that. But what they did get in there was really good.
Oh yeah, well, like I always kind of assumed they got to kind of sum it up to make a quick hour and a half long movie or so. But this one I thought just it gets enough across in there that you get the whole idea of the Court of Owls, then you get the relationship of Batman and Robin, and then you kind of got Dick Grayson in there to kind of be that sort of like middleman, like explaining like that. I learned from Batman. I was Robin. And I kind of like learned my own respect there and whatnot. The one thing I was kind of surprised they didn't do is they didn't really go into like the Dick Grayson part of like the Court of Owls stuff. I thought that was going to be a little bit more, since he was already in that movie. I thought they were going to put a little bit more emphasis on him being kind of like the next in line to be the Court of Owls. But I guess they kind of role-reversed into like saying like, no, let's grab this Damien kid. Fuck that Dick Grayson guy.
Well, I think what they did right there, I think it was a couple of things. I think just for the sake of meeting their like timeline, which most of these movies, I don't know how long this one is exactly. I'm going to guess like the others like an hour and 10 minutes. That's usually around the area. Every once in a while I get one that's like an hour and 20, surprisingly. But most of them are usually like hour 10, hour 15.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I want to say, this isn't so much a complaint, it's just a preference. I wish that this was, like, I'll do a live-action version of it and do, don't make Talon like another human. Make him like kind of the way how he was in the comic, and then use that for the Dick Grayson storyline. How Dick Grayson was meant to be a Talon, but basically he was adopted by Bruce Wayne before they had a chance to grab him. Like that, we're bringing that whole story.
Yeah, just the point where they're like, okay, the kid's parents are dead. Now go down there and get. Oh fuck, that billionaire went down there and grabbed him first. Damn it.
Well, you think they're ninjas? You think they would have been able to do that from ahead of time? Like, well, what happened? Like, the millionaire grabbed him and put him in his limousine and drove off with him. He's probably become a suck boy now. He's like, well,
we don't want him anymore. We don't want him if he's gay.
You didn't go in and you were ninjas. You didn't just, like, pop the tires. That Bruce Wayne guy, he's going to have trouble later down the line. You just do, I don't know, he told me to grab the kid. It was gone. That's as far as...
We just assumed that he was become gay, and, like, in the Court of Owls, there's no gay characters here.
It's a very... If anybody ever plays, like, we have the Court of... It's a very old school tradition. It's a very traditional type of organization we got here. If anybody ever brings in Mortal Kombat, Sean, did you play as Raiden?
But here's the thing: it's like we all know what billionaires do when they had taken little boys. I mean, it's all common knowledge, right? Right?
Yeah, we're all like billionaires dressed like it's the 1800s. But you know what goes on? Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when you just bring a boy into your house, not like it's gay or anything, but it's that kid's now gay.
You're rich. It doesn't count. It doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, it's only gonna affect his 12-year-old mind.
Fuck, I'm being real. But no, But like, I will say though, that whole part right there was, where are they going with that? I think that if they actually, I wish they did get in time to fit in the whole kind of like relationship between Dick Grayson and the Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sometimes I know that they were stretched for time. You can only focus on so much, so I get why. But
Oh yeah, and no, and don't get me wrong. I think it ties in really well just by using Damien as kind of like the Pivocal's character, and Grayson's more just sort of like a side character, kind of in that one. And I mean, that doesn't really bother me. But when I was watching the movie, I think it's just one of those ones like my initial thought of knowing that he's there, that they were gonna bring at least that in, not even if it's the whole part, but just like a slight, like couple minute scene.
And plus, like they still had a little bit of that early Damien, because eventually they become good friends. But I like how they still have that early Damien and Dick relationship when they're sparring. He says something to the effect like, "So you were the first Robin. This is the way you're fighting. I could only say that I'm the only Robin." Just like fucking like knocks him back.
Yeah, that part was really cool, and just Damien and Nightwing were fighting. Well, the funny thing too is because like this is also where like poor fucking Tim Drake gets shoehorned out of the picture again, because mostly in the comics, like all that like feud between like Damien was with Tim Drake. So that was the Robin that he had all these feuds with. And I mean, there was a little bit with Dick Grayson, but not as much. Probably just for the fact that Dick Grayson was kind of like not there. He showed up like, on fucking like Thanksgiving and shit. So he didn't really have that great of a relationship with him. But Tim Drake was still Robin pretty much. And then all of a sudden fucking he gets like, Batman literally takes his hand and goes like, "Well, my real boy's here now. So I packed you a lunch. Here's a Red Robin costume that Alfred made you.
Get a mohawk. It distinguishes you. It gives you more of a personality."
Yeah, here, take this bike. I mean, sorry, you're not going to be in any of the movies really anymore or anything like that. You're going to be kind of forgotten. I mean, I know the 90s was a big time for you, but...
Yeah. Just put his hand out, like, give me the key back, too. I'm going to need that.
Yeah.
Can't let anybody just come wandering in this house when I'm not home.
Yeah, it's like, I can't have you just showing up randomly. I mean, like, okay, you can come on Thanksgiving. I'm cool with that, But just don't bring any guests or anything.
I mean, you're still good within, like, Patton Boys, right? You can go, like, show the Patton Town. They got a couch there, don't they?
But that's kind of sad that, like, yeah, that's sort of like, Tim Drake did kind of get shoehorned out. And I just, maybe to me, it's just like, mostly all the Batman stuff I grew up on, Tim Drake was always mostly, like, the main Robin. Other than if you were watching older things, like, with Dick Grayson, if you're watching, like, Batman 66, or the live-action movies, or the early episodes of the animated Batman, but... other than that, though, Tim Drake in the comics and everything like that he was always Robin. And then all of a sudden, Damien kind of comes along, and then he sort of gets shoehorned out. But I will say, that same thing happened to Jason Todd until he became Red Hood. He was pretty much shoehorned out pretty quickly, too.
Jason Todd had to die to get guns for people to care about him.
Exactly. Because he was sort of that one, it's like, oh, he died, and that was kind of his legacy for the long time, and then he became Red Hood, and then he became Punisher Batman, which is really badass.
Yeah, he basically had to become like Batman Punisher, and like even though I like Jason Todd now, but I still he does have like this bitter resentment, kind of like, "I'm not Batman, fuck Batman." Yet he's still like it's like that total '90s thing where like suddenly every superhero, at least for DC in the '90s, I gotta find my own identity. Fuck whoever like trained me. Yet I'm still gonna wear this bat symbol on my chest. Even though I'm the Red Hood, I still got a bat symbol on my chest. Then just like like fucking what's his name? Fucking like Superboy. It's like, fuck Superman. I'm the Metropolis kid. Yet I got this Superman emblem on my chest.
Yeah, that was really like a big thing going on at that time. That's where at least you can always say of Dick Grayson is he did do the thing where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing. But I'm gonna be Nightwing. I'm taking on a whole new name, whole new kind of persona, going to a completely different town.
Yeah. And then you got and then you had, I don't want to name this ones, you had Bart Allen, who was the third or second Kid Flash. I think it was the second Kid Flash. And he was like, I'm not going to be Kid Flash. I'm going to be Impulse. I'm going to have the same colors, but just a little different. It's just like, how many fucking other superheroes have the whole speed thing going on? Really? Really? Come on. You're not fucking fooling anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But back to the Batman versus Robin, though. You know what's a really great part too is because they have the scene from the second book where the Talons invade the Batcave and everything. And I
Oh,
just love to give Alfred a shotgun and he just starts blasting away them and whatnot. And then Batman even gets put on the big armored suit and everything to fight him.
mm-hmm. That part right there is easily like I just got like that actually kind of like. I mean, I don't really like using this word so much, this term, but I was fanboying out on that fucking scene just because, I mean, that's another thing, because that's actually kind of like in the midway of the Court of Owls run for that story. They make it the climax, and that actually kind of works for that particular story. But that part, though, and because I actually double-checked and reread it, they actually improved upon that scene, because, you know, I love Scott Snyder's work, but the line is basically, get the hell out of my house. But in that, they add to it and improve upon it, and Batman says, I don't know why, whenever Batman uses improper English and he's angry, I don't know, it just reminds me of Clint Eastwood for whatever reason. He's like, I'm only going to say this once, you sons of bitches. And he busts out of there, it's that same shot that's in the comic, just get the hell out of my cave, and starts to beat the fuck out of all these Batman ninjas, like, oh my God.
That's the prime moment in that entire film, right there.
I literally just rewinded that part like 3 times. Like, I'm only gonna say this once, you sons of bitches. You know?
Yeah. Oh man, that was just fantastic. I mean, that whole movie was. Yeah, as I said, as you said, it's like probably the second best one out there. I'm like, I have to at least give it a couple more watches, but it's definitely in the top 3, 4, or 5. You know, it is up there. And as I say, you could say The Dark Knight Returns, and I think it just kind of wins because it's a 2-parter, making it like a really long one.
If you want to split Dark Knight Returns in half and treat them the way they are, I'd say, I mean, I'm not trying to bring that down. If you want to split them in half and not count both of them as one, I'd say this one is the best because on its own, it stands as one good singular experience. Where those two, they need to be together in order to be a better movie. And I still think that's the way they're meant to be viewed. But regardless, I think this is a badass movie. And I think you don't even need to be, this is one of those ones, because every once in a while, some of these DCU movies, like, all right, if you're a fan, you'll love it. This is one, if you just know the concept of Batman, you can probably fill in some of the blanks here and there, you can probably figure it out. But if you just know the concept of Batman, and that is enough, if you're like, oh, I've seen the Chris Nolan movie, I like it. If that's enough, I think you'd like this movie, actually.
Yeah, I think this is an easy one to jump into because there is some of them that, and mostly they involve characters, other than Flashpoint's one of those ones that might be a little bit much on somebody who didn't know enough. They're like, wait, what? They go back in time. There's an alternate dimension, and these characters are feuding. And I mean, like, I think they could still get it, but it is a little bit different. Like that appeals, I think, more to the actual comic book fans, which is really who these videos are mostly shooting for. That's the nice thing about them is they're not like a theatrical movie that has to shoot for a wide audience. They can shoot for a smaller target audience and still bring in others.
I'll say this real quick. This is something like Flashpoint's credit because I showed that to James Calafieri, who he's like open to this stuff, but he's not like a huge Batman fan. Like he likes the movies, and I lended him a few comics, and he liked what he read. And so he's not one of those guys who goes out of his way, but he'll like check it out. And I showed him Flashpoint, just saying, I just wonder what he'll think about this. And his response was, I'll be honest, most of those characters, I had no idea who the fuck they were, but regardless, I thought that was a pretty good movie. Yeah,
and that's what I mean. I think somebody can totally enjoy it, but it might still take the right person to kind of comprehend like all that's going on in that one. Even though now Flashpoint might, with the Flash TV show, might be more accessible to people.
Yeah, I think it would be, because plus you get like the Flash, you get a little. So I think Flashpoint now, because I know people who watch the Flash TV show. And I think I'd almost kind of like, this sounds kind of weird. I don't know why I'd want to see it, but but I almost kind of want to just see those people who really like the Flash TV show and show them the Flash movie and see how that's beginning. Like, oh, that's Weather Wizard. Oh, that's Captain Cold. The characters, because now they actually see them the way they're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like, because they have his whole intro at the beginning, and then as it goes on, it's like, okay, I know Batman, I know Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of which, did you watch that the new one, the trailer for the new one coming out, the Gods and Monsters?
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to be Batman versus Superman, but we'll get to that one. Yeah, I watched that one. I want to see it. The main reason reason I want to see it is because it looks like it's Bruce Timm is hopping back in it, and that's the main reason. The story itself doesn't jump out to me so much because it looks so foreign, but it's done that Bruce Timm style, and it's by Bruce Timm, so I still want to see it. It takes it's definitely that Elseworld kind of shit, and that can be pretty interesting, but it's not really, I guess, the kind I'm looking for, but regardless, I'm sure it'll be a pretty good movie.
Yeah, well, Bruce Timm, I think of him as in my top 3 favorite artist. Sounds like a weird one, but like I really like his stuff a lot. And plus just storytelling in general. So like knowing that he's there, that sells me on it really instantly. But it's like when I first watched that little kind of like, next time, the movie we're making thing, I was like, oh, okay, so it's, kind of Earth. At first I thought it was like Earth 2 or something like that. And then as they sort of went deeper into it, I was like, oh, okay, so that's not actually Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. It's other characters taking the mantle in an alternate world. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool, So it's Man-Bat is instead now Batman, but he's now like a vampire version. I'm like, that's different. And it's not...
Zod.
Yeah, it's Zod's son is now Superman, and he's raised by like Mexicans crossing the border. So it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's different. And then Orion's wife is now Wonder Woman. So I'm like, well, okay, all those things are very interesting. So that actually, by the time that whole little preview was done, I was pretty well sold on it. At first, it was one of those ones, I'll buy these movies no matter what. I don't really care. That's how much I love these DCU movies. They've never let me down. And even the ones that I thought that were like, good, just not amazing, they're still damn good movies, just not up to par of these other ones. But this one in itself, it just looks something different and kind of cool. And the fact that these superheroes now are like, they're still doing good things, but they don't got a problem killing. They don't got a problem doing other things, and they'll get the job sort of almost like a talent, I guess, but without following orders from somebody else.
Which I gotta say, going back to that for just a second, I love that part when Talon just says you know what? I'm just gonna kill all these rich fucks. It just starts starts going just stabbing and slicing everybody in that room.
Oh, that part was sweet too. That movie was just filled with copious great moments.
This is the part he literally rips out Dollmaker's heart. I don't know how he just keep walking with PG-13, but he literally rips out Dollmaker's heart and just holds it there, drops it, and leaves.
And that Dollmaker is Weird Al Yankovic, so...
I know, I couldn't even tell. I know they said that was going to be Weird Al Yankovic, but I could not tell from that voice. He did a great job.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It threw me off. I was like, oh yeah, that is Weird Al. I thought of it right when he died. I don't know why that came up then. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Weird Al played him.
But as far as the Gods and Monsters thing, I'm still going to buy it. I'm still going to check it out. The main thing it's not so much the concept, because I've seen a lot of Elseworld and What If stuff by this point, and that still sounds interesting to me, but the main thing that sells it is just that Bruce Timm is back leading it, as opposed to being like, yeah, I was one of the producers, and this has my seal of approval. Because that's what he was doing for a while on these. And they were still turning out great, but he was just for a while saying, I approve of this. I got multiple projects going on right now, and this is one that he's leading. So that's one reason why it's more of it's not so much the concept that appeals to me, it's just the guy behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But even the concept itself is kind of like one of those ones, because sometimes Elseworld stories, I think they're cool, but so I always feel like I know kind of these characters that I know and love. It's I could just see more stories of them. But this one kind of appealed to me a little bit different because it wasn't just this is alternate Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They're actually completely different people, and I think that's the cool part of it too.
Yeah, I do want to say though, I like how Bruce Timm, he's been doing this for so long, and he's DC royalty by this point. Not the comics, but he might as well be, because the animated series had such a big impact, not on just animation, but in the comic book series as well. That he was blatantly just kind of in that interview for the promoting Gods and Monsters, he was just being kind of yeah, so every once in a while, these fucking nerds really complain and really whine, they just change anything, they just freak out, so that's what I'm doing for this, I don't give a fuck. He was one step away from saying that. He's not looking enthusiastic whatsoever. It's here's what I'm doing, and people are gonna bitch, but I don't fucking care, I'm Bruce Timm.
Yeah, what are you gonna fucking do? You wish you were me. He grabs the camera, starts shaking it.
He's the guy in Platoon with the scar on his lip who walks in the room and says fuck y'all know about death.
Yeah, what the fuck y'all know about Batman?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of other Batman, then we've been blessed with many grand trailers. We had the Batman versus Superman kind of official little teaser trailer come out.
And that right there, I really like that. I'm still kind of like, the older I get, I mean, I am looking forward to this movie, and I really do want to see it, but the older I get, I guess I'm just being kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. Right on. You know?
Well, there is that thing that it's sort of like, I always feel it's like the Leonard Maltin syndrome. This is why I always assume that sometimes he's just not very impressive stuff. It's just the more and more stories you see, whether they're movies, TV, comics, books, video games, and so on, it's almost like the more you see, you feel like you've seen this stuff before. It's not as mind blowing as it once was when you never saw it before. You know, something like The Matrix, especially I think The Matrix on like a kid itself. I mean, I think it blows away like everybody, but on a 12-year-old kid, The Matrix is just the most mind blowing thing, and I think that's what really sucks you in there. Or Jurassic Park. I mean, before that, all I ever had was those old Lost World movies, and that was about it. But Jurassic Park just really set this humongous standard for like how a dinosaur movie should look. Too bad that nobody ever really decided to make another dinosaur movie that wasn't Jurassic Park. So it really is the only standard of this day and age, excluding like cameo scenes of dinosaurs like in King Kong or something. But so I think that like for all the comic books and animated stuff and so on, we've read of Batman and Superman and all that stuff. And even with, some of the live action stuff they come out with, I mean, it's like, don't get me wrong, I look totally forward to it and stuff like that. But maybe if Batman versus Superman came out when I was like 10 years old, then it might have really like been like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the same thing here. Like, or even fuck that, high school,
Mm-hmm.
But like that right there, though, I'll say, don't get me wrong. Don't take it as me to look at that trailer going, meh. I am excited for it. I really do want to see it. But there is some things about it that, like, I can see they truly are trying to do something different that they have not done in a comic book.
Uh-huh.
At least a Batman or Superman movie. But I feel like I should just be more excited than I am. I think one of the things is now we live in the age where we see the process. We hear the news about it as it comes out, where before you would, like, now if you go to Bing or Google, you'll see like a story, like top stories, and one of them's like so-and-so is casted as whoever, and then, oh, by the way, it's got your name. We see that. You like, I mean, granted, I'm not going to lie, we partially look for it, but on top of that, you don't really have to look that hard for it. You can almost hear it in conversation. You know what I mean? It just pops up this day and age. So where before, you'd almost kind of have to look for that information. You'd have to read like an entertainment magazine. You got little by little as the months went on. Then you might get like a special like trailer or a look at the music video promoting the movie during some show you don't want to fucking watch, but you sit through it hoping to see that video or that trailer during the commercial break.
Yeah, I remember those good old sneak peek ones. And I personally, I'm one of those ones like, I wish movies were a little bit more secretive. I think that the only thing you should ever give away when a movie's being made is in the trailer. Nothing more, though. Like, and I know that nowadays, like, it seems like the popular thing to do is kind of like they're doing it with Episode 7 of Star Wars, is just to hand out a little factoid every single week. And I do get it. It does keep people kind of like
aware.
Yeah, you see the Star Wars stuff every week, so you're like, oh, Star Wars this, so it's always on your mind, Freddy Krueger style. If it keeps going there, then you don't forget about it. Where I think it's, but I like that surprise where like all of a sudden like a trailer comes out and like a month or maybe 2 months later the movie's coming out and you're like, oh fuck, I didn't know that was coming out, and I kind of forgot about it.
And I'm not gonna, and I'll be honest. I mean, I'm complaining about saying I wish they had less information on it. Yet the minute somebody like posts a trailer or an image, I'm gonna go look at it.
Yeah.
Wish they didn't, but I'm totally guilty of like, man, I just wish they'd save it till the movie was about to come out, or like, oh, here's a sneak peek. Someone stole a Comic-Con. Oh fuck, let me see that.
Yeah, it's sort of that thing. It's just like if it's not there, out of sight, out of mind, maybe is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I do like that sort of secretive thing. It's sort of like when I saw Fast and Furious 7. Like, I knew that there was that Mission Impossible 5 coming out, but I kind of forgot about it because they didn't talk about it, like, every single week. It was just sort of like, oh, Tom Cruise is on a new Mission Impossible works. Oh, that's cool. And then that's all I ever heard. And then all of a sudden, this trailer appears out of nowhere, and it's like, oh fuck, that is coming out like right away. And I kind of like that a little bit more, where it's like, what if you went to Fast and Furious 7, and then all of a sudden that was when they showed the Star Wars trailer? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, Star Wars Episode 7's coming out. You didn't know that yet, did you?
I would like heads explode simultaneously. Like, is this April Fool's? Is this really happening right now?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say just to stay on track of the Batman versus Superman. It's a cool trailer. I guess there's one thing I'm a little worried about. I mean, here's the stuff I think they're doing as far as Batman goes. It looks like what they're trying to do is they're trying to do obviously a little bit of Frank Miller Batman, but like the very kind of Grant Morrison, very like well calculated Batman, the Batman that kind of like plans for every single occasion, and he's not like learning this. He's not new to this.
The Bat God.
We haven't been learning with him. He's been at this. He knows what the fuck he's doing. So now we got kind of grizzled Batman. He still looks good. Still Ben Affleck. He's still a very pretty man, but he like still looks a little like older than what we're used to for Batman by this point.
Yeah, he's going for the Bat God version.
They're going for Bat God, which I'm fine with that because we get to see Bat God in film. And the one thing I'm a little nervous about is that because Batman can do this, but I don't think it's the only sole like quality of him. In the trailer, you hear Jeremy Irons, who's playing Alfred, say it's the fear that has the power to make you feel helpless, to make a good man be cruel. And it shows Bruce Wayne looking at the bat suit when they say that. So I'm hoping they're not full on just trying to make Batman be the bad guy who comes out at the end. Sorry, I learned my lesson. I hope that it's something to the effect of like, because it's a Superman-Batman movie. At some point, they're gonna get pissed off at each other. At some point, someone's gonna get punched in the face. It's gonna be a dick swinging competition. So
Raiden's gonna show up and pat him on the back at the end and tell him if what the heart desires, the heart can get.
That's when Raiden comes to the end. Yeah, you can get ready for so that's when it can do the Mortal Kombat DC Universe movie we've all been building up to.
Yeah, maybe that'll be the surprise twist at the very end. Is after the credits scene, Raiden appears. He's just walking with Batman, Superman. He's arms around both of their shoulders, just being like, guys, what the heart wants, the heart can get. Boom, and then just cuts right there, and that's all it is.
He just lightning bolts out of there, and they just both kind of stand there in like confusion. And all of a sudden, just like cut to black, like Jungle Boogie starts to play. That Quentin Tarantino like font, like directed by Zack Snyder. Like the most fucking offbeat, and like, what the fuck was that?
That'd be amazing, right there.
Like that yellow '70s style, like blaxploitation font,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But I mean, I guess I just hope they don't make him just being kind of like, because I know Batman's a dick, Batman's an asshole, but he is for all the right reasons. So, and sometimes he does the wrong thing all for the right reasons. I just hope they don't make him kind of like Lex Luthor's pawn or nothing like that. I mean, I'm going to assume that David S. Goyer, who wrote Batman, who was one of the writers of Batman Begins and helped scope the story for the Dark Knight trilogy, I think he knows the character well enough, and I'm assuming Zack Snyder knows the character well enough. So hopefully they just hopefully they give good reason for him to fight in the first place.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Like for me personally, it's like I think for the average movie viewer, it's like the concept is like, oh, Batman and Superman fighting, and this is another one of those ones where it's like, I don't really care so much if Batman and Superman fight, but if you did tell me that there's a video on the internet of Batman and Superman fighting, it's like, oh, I kind of want to see that now.
Yeah,
but I don't have that. Like, there's a lot of people out there that love when like superheroes fight superheroes, and to me that doesn't always. I like when they work together and they're buddies. Like that's fine with me. But once again, I'm saying, like, if somebody's like down the halls, like, yo, dude, you gotta come over here. Batman and Superman are fucking duking it out in the the cafeteria. I'd fucking run over there in seconds and wouldn't stop it either.
I mean, we don't. You maybe like join in, like start cheering, fight. It doesn't happen, but it's not something you go looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'd just start, like, if I was like Green Lantern or something and I had a ring, I'd just like push him in there, just start using my ring, pushing him back and forth to get him more agitated.
Well, do it, pussy, push him. But I want to say though, like, hopefully, I mean, I think that everyone working on it like cares and knows the stuff well enough. People are always going to hate on Snyder for whatever reason, but I think that just the one. The other thing is, I mean, I hope not. I'm hoping I don't sound like a nitpicky bitch about this, but he has the voice modulator, which I understand to an extent. I just hope that maybe that's when he's in the total like batsuit armor that it sounds that robotic. I hope it doesn't sound that robotic all the time.
Yeah, I'm assuming it has to do something with the suit.
I mean, I know it does. It makes sense. And Kevin Smith even said, and like that's a good point right there. He's like, well, why would he put on a voice? We could just do some kind of modulator thing to make himself sound like someone else. And I think that's a good point right there. I hope that when he's not, I mean, because even when he says that line, I'm assuming, I mean, it's an audio cut, so it might be from somewhere else in the movie. But I'm assuming that's when he's in the big, bulky bat armor from Dark Knight Returns. I hope he doesn't have that voice when he's just in regular Batman outfit. I hope it still has some kind of change, but it's not like, doesn't sound like, you know, he's talking like to like, doesn't sound like he's talking to Darth Vader or something.
Yeah. You know, I mean, like, because Green Arrow uses that in the TV show, and I think it works fine for that. As long as maybe, I guess it's not so robotic, if it's maybe just like a different tone or something like that. I mean...
You know what? I bet you know what? Actually, I bet that's something. This is just a thought. I have nothing to back this up. I can totally see them saying, "We got mixed feelings about this. Throw it in the trailer. Let's see how they react. We could always fix this in post."
That's true. That's a smart one. I didn't think of it like that, but when you got enough time to kind of do it, you could test the waters and just kind of see if people like it or if they don't like it, and then just kind of fix it from there.
It's just audio. It's not footage, so I guess you could totally do that.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, it's just a modulator anyway, so it's not like it's, you know, actual dialogue that has to be replaced.
Mm-hmm. But no, regardless, I am looking forward to that movie. I'm assuming it's going to be good. But yeah, I think, well, aside from the fact they're both on the screen at the same time, going back to what I think the trend's been different, like I said, I think they're trying to do Bat God. They're obviously pulling individual moments from Dark Knight Returns. And it's just, I like that we're getting a seasoned Batman rather than, because even in the later, even in the later Christopher Nolan movie, as well as the later like Joel Schumacher movies, even though he was Batman, he knew what he was doing by that point. He still felt kind of new to it to an extent. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like it came first nature to him. And where this one, it seems kind of like they got to find a reason for him to get in the suit. Where this one, it feels like maybe, I mean, we've only seen like just the trailer, but I feel like they're going to try to be like, well, he's in the suit. We got to give him a reason to leave the suit.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's the cool thing, and hopefully they just kind of don't make too much of an origin for Batman. You know, 'cause with every origin, there's not a single origin out there you can't explain in like less than 5 minutes. You know, so hopefully they'll just jump right into it. That this is Batman, this is Superman, this is Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor might be the one as the origin if I had to guess. And then from there on out,
Jesse Eisenberg, they had an audio clip of him in there.
Yeah. But I don't know. Overall, it's gonna be good, and I trust Zack Snyder. I mean, like, I love every single one of the movies he ever did. The only one I just don't care for that much is Dawn of the Dead, which most people always go, "What? That's the one you don't like?" I'm like, I don't know. After the original one, it's hard to like take in that other one. But here's the thing: it's just the writing that I don't like, and he didn't write it. So all the camera work and all like the action, all that stuff's all fine. So technically, the only person to blame is the writer. So really, I don't blame Zack Snyder at all on that one.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see his Owl movie?
I never saw the Owl movie, but I heard that it was a decent movie. But it's one of the ones like, you know, unless it was Court of Owls, maybe like.
I don't know. I like owls. I never really thought I'd be interested in seeing an owl movie, but I'm kind of curious about it. You know, because everybody talks about how good that movie is. So I'm like, all right, I'm curious. You know.
Plus, it's Zack Snyder. It's like he has just made in the last 10 years. He is close to being probably my favorite director, or like favorite modern director, I guess you could say, you know, in the last 10 years. Because I love Sucker Punch, I love Man of Steel, I really like 300, I really like Watchmen, like a lot. So, as I said,
my favorite of his so far is probably Watchmen. Watchmen is probably my favorite of his.
That's my favorite too.
300 I like. I'm not in love with 300 like other people, but I like 300. Man of Steel is probably right behind Watchmen, I'd say.
Yeah, for me it'd probably be Watchmen, Man of Steel, Sucker Punch being in there pretty close, and then probably 300. And then as I said, Dawn of the Dead, you know, aesthetically it looks great and it's all that stuff. It's just the characters, and I just really don't like the characters that much, excluding a couple of them. But that's not his fault technically. He didn't write the script, so.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of like his kind of first big movie anyway, so it's like he's just taking a job more than anything else. Hell, it's job remaking Dawn of the Dead. Who doesn't want that one? So I like, as I said, it's just kind of like that. I don't blame him for that. So everything he's done, I really like. So I just know for a fact that Batman vs Superman, it's going to be good no matter what. You know, range of good between being like pure amazing like Watchmen, or just being like really good like 300. I guess you could say it could be anywhere in those kind of viewpoints.
I guess the one thing that I am a little bit kind of like, I don't know about, I mean, there's stuff like, all right, hopefully they don't do this, hopefully they don't do that, but none of it's proven yet. I guess I know I'm going to have trouble regardless taking in Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and that's not saying he's a bad actor, that's just me. It's just, it's like, you imagine a character a certain way, and I can't imagine him as that. I mean, he could bulk up, he can get as buff as possible, and he may even have the charisma, but he still has the Jesse Eisenberg voice. He's still going to have that, and it's going to be hard for me to imagine that going away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say
I hope he knocks it out of the park. I want to be proven wrong. I want him to do good. I'm not one of those people, one of those like assholes in some movie form. Like, this movie's going to suck for 10 reasons. Here's why, and I'm looking forward to it. So
and 7 of them are Jesse Eisenberg.
pour butter down my mouth while I eat my popcorn. Yeah, I'm not trying to be like one of those fuckers. I really want him to do a good job. I just don't imagine him as that character, but I hope he does good though. I really do.
Well, it's one of those ones, like, I will say that he sort of did win me over time, like in other movies. I still think that Lex Luthor, I don't know, he's probably not perfect in it. It'll remind me sort of like, it's kind of like, he might, I bet you anything, he'll do 110% effort for his ability, but it'll be kind of like Scott Pilgrim with, what's his name? Michael Cera. It's like, don't get me wrong, I think Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera does 110%. He acts as much as he possibly can and stuff like that. But just from like the comics, you're kind of like, okay, he's sort of close, but that's not really. Scott Pilgrim should have been somebody like Ryan Reynolds, if Ryan Reynolds probably wasn't too old by that point. If that movie was made, like, even though it wouldn't make any sense.
If Scott Pilgrim, like Ryan Reynolds playing like, oh yeah, like.
I'm 23 years old, though I'm 32.
I'm 22. I'm just 22. He's like, just fucking Ryan Reynolds being all shy, not knowing how to talk to some like 19-year-old girl. Be going up to like, yeah, he's gonna go up to like Mary Elizabeth Winstead and be all awkward, like, oh hey, so you know about Pac-Man? And like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I mean, if that happened in real life, she'd be like, it's Ryan Reynolds. She'd be wet instantly, But then like, but just Ryan Reynolds going, oh hey, you know about fucking Pac-Man?
Well, here's the thing. If Ryan Reynolds did it, because like in the comic books, like I don't picture Scott Pilgrim talking with like the Michael Cera accent at all. So like, I could see like once again, Ryan Reynolds is too old, a little too old by that point. The reason I pick him is I just feel like he could do it, and 2, he's Canadian, because that's sort of like, I feel the reason Michael Cera I think got picked is 1, Superbad came out, so he was really popular. They're like, this guy's popular with the nerds, and 2, he's Canadian. Put him in there. So it kind of has that, but like Ryan Reynolds, let's just say Ryan Reynolds was 23 or so, which means we have to go back to like fucking like 2000. But if he was at that age, I think it probably could work. Obviously not, time frame wise, but that's the thing is I just thought that Michael Cera, even though I still love Scott Pilgrim the movie a lot, and I think that Michael Cera he won me over in that movie. He does do like 110% effort. There's just some obstacles that no matter what, you can't, outact yourself no matter. There's just some things you can't do.
One who I think would have been perfect, actually.
Who?
I mean, this is another guy, in this case, we have to go maybe a few years back, maybe not as far back as Ryan Reynolds, Emil Hirsch.
Ooh, I think that might be the total perfect candidate. Mm-hmm. He probably still could have done it that time period, because he would only have been like 25 or 6 or something, so he wouldn't have been too much older for that part.
Yeah, before.
And he does look young, so.
He's always looked kind of young, yeah. And then maybe that would also stop him from getting into the trouble he's in now. So yeah.
But going back to Jesse Eisenberg, because I still think that who would have been the perfect Lex Luthor though is that one they kind of mentioned before was they had Bryan Cranston like named off.
That's a different one. That's an older one, but still, it's something different. You know what I mean? I think Bryan Cranston would have been really interesting.
Well, yeah, because he's got the good shaved head look. You know, he's got like I just feel like his acting's at 120%, so he could just totally.
He'd be threatening as fuck. That's for sure.
Exactly. I just think that would have been the real ideal choice. But I mean, once again, I'm saying like, okay, I've accepted that it's going to be Jesse Eisenberg, and I mean, I know for a fact he'll probably put 110% in there. Will he be able to reach it? Because there's just sometimes some characters that no matter how hard you try, you can't necessarily be. It's like there's almost like a body type and a look that has to be achieved.
Someone, even though kind of, because I'm one of those people, and it's not so much of kind of like it's not so much of like because every once in a while when they change the race of a character, you hear somebody like, they're taking over, that's what they're doing, this is where it starts, just kind of fucking like Gable, like the Gable shit from like Mortal Kombat we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just kind of more for keeping the race of the character, just because that's just the way I know him as. That's just the way I know him as, and that's just the way I see him, just because I've seen him that way since they've been around.
Well, I also think the only reason that the
race... That being said, for a minute they said Denzel Washington is Lex Luthor, and I was like, all right, I'll make an exception, because that guy, he has the perfect charisma. He is like, I would just be... I know that's changing the race of the character right there. But right there, I am more. I mean, and it's not like, even just to clarify, if they do change the race of the character, it's not like a deal breaker, like the movie's ruined for me or anything like that. It's just it's just kind of like, I'll say this. Perry White, I had no trouble with seeing Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. I had more trouble with Amy Adams as redhead Lois Lane than I did with Perry White.
I agree there. I think the Perry White thing is kind of acceptable. Well, the main reason that it always bothers me when they switch like races, it's not like it's a racist thing. It's just I consider that like a lazy way of trying to put a different race in there is just by switching it. I feel like, well, why don't you just make somebody like their own character instead? Like at least with Spider-Man, it's not like the guy who's like half Mexican, half black. It's not like that's Peter Parker. It's a different guy, and I think that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's Miles Morales, and they're eventually they're going to work their way up to him. Right now, I think it's Peter Parker. It's going to work his way into the new Spider-Man outfit. Well, in the new like Marvel Cinematic Universe that Spider-Man's going to be there. It's going to be Peter Parker. Eventually, they're going to work their way up to Miles Morales. They will. Well, that's cool though. I think they do need more diversity. I'm just saying. No need to change what we know, but that being said, when for a split second they threw Denzel Washington's name out there, I was like, oh, do it. I want to see that. Because I believe Denzel Washington could like possibly punch out Henry Cavill. He'd be like, okay, I don't want no trouble. I can in the Superman suit,
I'll tell you this. I like Denzel so much that if Denzel played Superman or Batman, I would be sold on it. That's how good of an actor. Denzel I'll take you. You know how I was explaining how some actors can't transcend? Denzel can transcend anything. He could play any part out there. There's not a single part that I don't think Denzel can't play.
And he could even like the thing about him is he's such a likable guy that even if he was like doing all this Lex Luthor shit, like no, I totally get why people because he does just have this charming charisma about him, and Lex Luthor has that. So I think that's one of those things about him. If they that's why I think he would have been perfect, just because, I can totally understand how he can, kind of trick everybody into seeing his way, because he just has that kind of charm to him. And then if you have someone like Jesse Eisenberg, I mean, the audio clip it sounds sinister, and it sounds like he was doing a good performance, but it's kind of like, he seems kind of like, yes, I'm evil, where I think Denzel was like, hey, guys, come on, guys, don't trust the Superman guy. Come on, hang out with me. Like, yeah, this guy's right. I like where this guy's going,
Yeah, I totally agree there, too. Well, it's sort of like, at first somebody was like, oh, they made Aquaman black in the new movie. I'm like, what? They made Aquaman black? That seems a little, strange. And then, when I heard it was Jason Momoa, I'm all, nope, that's totally fine. I'll take that as Aquaman. He played Conan. He did a really good job. He was the villain in Bullet to the Head with Stallone. I really like that actor a lot.
Yeah, he looks like the one thing about Aquaman, though, they did change. He did do a good job in that stuff. The one thing about Aquaman is, though, it is supposed to be, and I'm not trying to go reverse racism on this or anything like that, but the one thing about Aquaman is why she had to hide him is because he had blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's not a common trait for Atlanteans. That being said, though, I mean,
that's why Orin has dark hair and whatnot.
Yeah. So that being said, that's I mean, I feel like such a nerd. I mean, well, in the comics, it says, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not going off.
She went up to She went up to land and banged some guy on Florida who was pretty much just an old drunk hippie living in a fucking lighthouse. Had a one-night stand with this guy, and then had a bastard child that she dropped off on him.
Yeah, like that's your fucking problem, not mine. Yeah.
He's fucking blind. I can't bring him back.
Yeah, like, you got this, right? Cool, thank you.
It's like reverse Nazism down here, but why I talk like this as a woman, I'm not too sure. It must be the pressure of the ocean. A woman's voice. But okay, this is what I kind of thought why they chose like Jason Momoa. Maybe they thought that for like a movie, they're like, well, we can't have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy beating up on a black guy in a space or in an underwater suit.
I didn't really think about that, but that's like I mean, don't be wrong, I'm not being kind of like, don't put him in the suit. It's not even something that really bothered me. I'm just like, oh, that's going to be a source of contention for some folks right there. I'm like, well, I mean, I mean, it's not so much they're going with like Road Warrior looking like, Aquaman. I figured that's the one they would go with.
I love that. I love that Aquaman with the mullet. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, 90s Aquaman. I mean, orange Aquaman with the orange chainmail. I think that. I mean, I'd like to see that, but I think that would be hard to pull off. I totally get with the one they went with. I just when I saw that it was Jason Momoa, I'm like, oh well, that's gonna be for some people that's gonna piss them off. It doesn't piss. It's not one of those things that's not gonna piss me off or scare me off or anything like that. I'm looking forward to it still. It was just one of those things like, oh well, here's one more thing that we're gonna hear about people bitching on the forums.
I know. To me, it just I like when I heard that, it was like, well, I'm like, dude, he's perfect. I'm like, he can play Aquaman. Like that's a fine choice. It's sort of like kind of like when if The Rock takes over characters, like The Rock playing Race Bannon. I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'm like, The Rock is...
Yeah, The Rock could play fucking Batman. I mean, no one's gonna fuck with him. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I would take The Rock as Batman. Like, that's just that's good enough. There's enough that transcends it.
I may not like recognize him as like I may not like recognize him immediately as Bruce Wayne, but the fact is, you'd actually have a guy that probably does not need any padding in that bat suit.
Exactly. You wouldn't need that. You would just like have like. I don't know. You could use the cloth Batman suit, and they would be perfect for that. Make it like an Under Armour like Batman suit.
I mean, that'd probably be the closest. I mean, I know he's a little older, but that's probably the closest you'd get to like Frank Miller Batman, just this fucking hulking tank of a human,
Oh yeah, totally right. Well, I think we covered a lot of that. One more thing we should probably talk about before we bounce on out, or at least possibly two more things. We're going to take a quick break right here, but now a word from our buddies at Painted Black Podcast. Take a listen.
I'm Pete, that's Brian.
Yeah.
There's Lou. We are Painted Black Podcast. We are Painted Black Comics.
If you could describe the show, what would you describe it?
Horribly offensive.
Balls to the walls.
A good time.
I don't know. Unprofessional. I wouldn't be surprised if fucking Barney heard some screaming from next door. Right?
Hey, yo, Fred, I got kicked out of the house. Can I stay with you guys for a little bit? No, Barney. We're not friends like that.
You better go stay with Kazoo.
Yeah. Dum-dum, you should have said yes to your wife. Can you imagine what Disney World would have been like had he lived longer?
No Jews. That's the primary difference.
Yeah. I feel like he funded the Nazis in some way. I can't prove it.
The first fucking model of their helmet had ears on it.
Oh, the Basketeers coming over the hill. What the fuck's going on?
Dosan sounds like a Renaissance painter.
He was the fifth Ninja Turtle. He wasn't right in the head. They didn't really bring him out too much. I'd like to fight the foot.
That's probably why they had little stupid ass toppings.
Bubble gum.
Fuck, who let those sounds order the pizza?
I want stink bug.
Who put Legos on this shit? Can I give you money for sex?
I would enjoy making a transaction for a blowjob.
Can I get a receipt with that pussy?
Oh yeah, how do I follow this?
Do you wash those briefs with starch?
Make that booty clap. Why don't ya?
Let's hear Randy Newman doing the song for Pompeii.
Oh, he's on the spot.
Whoa, did smoke. Volcano. Woo, it's the smoke.
And we're back. Well, did you see that new Star Wars Episode 7 trailer that came out?
I did. There's actually one I want to talk about before that one, because I think that would be a good one to go out on. Did you see the new Terminator 5 trailer?
No, you just told me about that before, and I was like, what? There was a new Terminator one that came out too? I was so distracted by everything else.
Yeah, I wanted to say it. But here's the thing about it. I mean, this is one of those cases I think they're almost saying and showing too much, because there's a new plot line they added to this trailer.
Oh, yeah, what is it?
John Connor is basically the Terminator coming after him.
Like a machine, or he's like...
I'm not 100% sure, but basically it's something, they added the whole thing, like the timeline's all crazy and fucking everywhere, since they've been sending Terminators and people back at different times, so it's completely out of loop, a different, timeline now. But at some point, I just assume he'd be there in flashbacks or something or flash forwards, whatever you want to call him. The guy, I forget his name, but he's in a lot of movies recently. He was in Zero Dark 30. He was basically the main character of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He was the third brother in Lawless. You know that guy?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
He's John Connor. So I assumed he would just be there kind of coming back and forth, right? And, just in the flashbacks, maybe the part of the beginning, maybe somewhere in the middle, and then at the very end. I'm not sure if it's him or it's a robot modeled after him, but basically he's like this humanoid, robot, this cross, it's like a cross between machine and human, basically.
So he's a cyborg?
Sort of. I mean, what it looks kind of like, here's basically the idea of what it looks like. That he'll be walking, and he could kind of change shape to an extent, but it's not like liquid metal. It looks more kind of like dust. I guess it's a bunch of tiny, billions of little microbots that can change. And so there's a part where they show, he's getting shot up, and, the microbots are almost kind of stripping away. But what you see underneath is actually, this organic-looking metal skeleton. You see... you see it's robotic, but on top of that, it looks like there's muscles overlapping, all robotic looking, and he has these microbots that kind of cover over him and change his appearance, and make weapons and whatnot.
Well, I wonder if they have some kind of storyline going on where he's advanced himself using machinery to fight the machines, I guess.
But the thing is, he is then going after, Sarah Connor, Kyle Reese, and they show him fighting Arnold at some point. So it's now fucking everywhere. So I'm just all right, that's something I wish they could have saved for the movie. I wish I didn't know that, because now I'm just confused watching this fucking thing. I mean, I'm going to see that movie regardless.
Oh yeah, it's one of the main movies I'm looking forward to.
It's Arnold and it's the Terminator, so I'm going to be there for it. But I'm just watching. So they have this whole new plot line for that. I'm just okay, hopefully that doesn't make things too confusing or too too everywhere,
Exactly. Huh, that's an interesting one. I mean, I could see something he loved, because, pretty much the Terminator is his real father, sort of. I mean, I guess it's a surrogate father, but, in T2, that's pretty much the best father a boy could ever have, almost. So maybe, he wanted to be more like his dad. He's I want to be just like you, surrogate father, dad, Terminator.
Well, I'm not sure. It almost looks kind of maybe I'm wrong here, but it almost looks like it's one of two things. It's either Skynet caught him and they're using him against Kyle Reese and, everybody else, Sarah Connor and the Terminator, or it's there's some weird third program that started out of Skynet that's gone rogue.
Huh. Well, nevertheless, that'll be an interesting plot line to see.
It definitely gave the image, definitely gave the sense that they were running from him, that he was chasing them, and Arnold get down and shoots him at some point.
Huh. Well, I'll have to take a gander at that trailer and just see what that's all about. See, it's maybe that's one that's
we have to check out A&R, Arnold Arnold News Radio, because they probably got something to say about it.
Yeah, they'll probably really talk about that one. Felt like they haven't had an episode in like a week or so. It's either that or sometimes every once in a while.
I feel like I fuck it up. Is it A&R or ARN?
It's Arnold Radio News, so it's ARN.
Okay, alright. I always fuck it up. I don't know why. Yeah.
But well, other trailer wise, we had that episode 7 trailer, the second teaser trailer, whatever you want to call it.
That one was much more of a trailer. The other one was just like quick images, and this one you get a little bit more of an idea. I mean, you don't get a full idea of the story, but you can tell an idea of what's going on. Where the other one was just quick images. This one is just like, it looks like there's a black stormtrooper. It looks like he is from the idea. What I'm getting from it is it looks like he's like an Empire defective. Like he defected from the Empire. He meets up with some girl. They have Mark Hamill in there at some point, like narrating, saying that the Force is strong with me, and they add to it. They're like, my father has it, I have it, my sister has it, and then it says, and you have it. You don't hear who he's saying that to. And they just have a lot of like action cuts, and like you see the guy with the red lightsaber with the double-ended again. Or not the double-ended, the hilt.
Yeah, the hilt saber.
Yeah.
And then they have the shot at the very end of like Harrison Ford and Chewbacca all old.
The money shot. That was the money shot right there.
It really is. It's like, you'll be here for this.
And that was one of those things, like, I knew he'd be there, and I don't know how much the movie's going to be there for, but there's that part where it says, like, you see all this action, it goes to black for a second, and then you hear Harrison say, Chewie. And it just cuts to the both of them, and they're just like, we're home. And then it's like, oh, fuck! That was one of the things. I usually don't watch reaction videos, but I went and just looked at a few just to see how people would react to that,
Uh-huh.
It was almost kind of funny watching people's reaction to that, because just looks like, oh, it'll look like they're getting into it. Then all of a sudden, when you hear Harrison say, Chewie, just everybody's eyes were like, it shows them both like, we're home. And they're just like, fuck! Like people just flat out lose their shit.
Here's a perfect example of like, say that they saved that and they did not say that Harrison Ford was going to be in Star Wars Episode 7, and that trailer was where they announced it in.
That would have been amazing. That
Yeah.
is like the perfect thing right there. You could say Star Wars 7. It's happening.
Yeah, and that's where I still think that movies are better when they keep more secrets. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not like they've told. I mean, like, no matter what, no matter how many secrets, no matter how many plots you tell, you can never really totally ruin the experience of actually seeing the movie in theaters. But there is that kind of sense of like, I love being able to watch. One of my favorite things to do is like, sometimes I'll buy a movie and I like, it can go in multiple directions, but I'll look at the cover and go, this looks cool. I'll buy it. And I'll throw it on. I don't even want to read the back. I don't want to know anything about the movie. The cover, the poster, that's all I need. Because I like to go in there and just be like, surprise me. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen in this movie. And sometimes the movies aren't that grand, but sometimes you get movies that are so cool and you're like, fuck, I didn't know this was happening. And you have no idea what's going on because you don't even know the basic plot of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of those cases right there where, I mean, there's apparently there's script leaks and this and that, and I mean that trailer right there still had a handful of just like quick images. Like you saw like Vader's like helmet that was all warped from being on fire years ago. You saw like what I'm assuming is a hooded Luke Skywalker staying next to R2-D2 near like a volcano or something, and then just a lot of quick like X-Wing action shots, people running some explosions, that girl and that one dude kind of hanging out, the Millennium Falcon going through like a destroyed Star Destroyer. So I mean, I have a better idea of what it's about. I could definitely tell that one guy is a Empire defective, and that maybe that girl, it wouldn't surprise me that's Luke's daughter or like Leia's daughter or something like that.
Yeah, hopefully not Luke and Leia's daughter.
It came full circle of that, The Force, it bonds us, brings us all together. You're like,
Just like the Southern Star Wars.
R2, finish that off. Yeah, I love when it does that.
This sounds weird, but you know what trailer was almost outbeat that Episode 7 one, though? Was that Star Wars Battlefront trailer. Did you see that one?
Is that the one where they're like in indoor and they like take out like they take out like a couple of like walkers and some stormtroopers, and then they cuts like Hoth real quick, then cuts other places?
Yeah, that's the one. That was pretty fucking badass. And maybe it's the fact that there hasn't really been a Star Wars game in a long time, so it kind of blew me away a little bit more.
And plus Battlefront 3 was one, like, it's happening, look at all this footage. Like, oh, guess what? It's not happening.
Yeah, and then now it's happening again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like that one was just one of those. The cool thing about these Star Wars movies coming back out again is now we finally get a resurgence of Star Wars games, because really in like the PS3 360 era, you know, there wasn't much Star Wars. You know, really all you had was fucking what's that one called? Jedi.
You had the old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic.
No, because that's still Xbox original. That's not Xbox 360.
Oh, you had. I mean, I guess you probably maybe had some Clone Wars shit.
No, what's the one you play where you play as the guy, the Star Killer guy?
Force.
Force Unleashed. That's about one of the only games you had, because you really just had that, and then you had like the Lego Star Wars.
Oh my God, Lego did almost kind of take over like the Star Wars franchise.
But I think it was just that sort of thing, like Star Wars popularity kind of went down, because maybe just like in general, it's like after Episode 3 came out, it was kind of like, well, that's the end of the series, so see you guys all later.
Well, I don't know if it'll be in this one, but hopefully. I mean, I'm going off. Actually, I'm jumping off the topic here. Sorry, yeah, but no, I mean, this should probably bring back a bunch of other Star Wars games. I'm sure it's going to happen. Hopefully, we'll get some really good ones again instead of just half-ass movie tie-ins. I'm sure this will eventually, because that's the thing about some of the Star Wars games. I mean, there were some that were kind of shitty, but then there were ones that were really good because they had time to work on them. They weren't trying to make a movie deadline. So I think that. Plus, more Star Wars. I mean, more Star Wars is better than no Star Wars.
Oh yeah, well, from Episode 1 to Episode 3, even if there was a handful of kind of like mediocre Star Wars games, there was just so many great ones though that fill like your Star Wars void. I mean, we had Rogue Squadron, we had Jedi Outcast that came out around that time, Knights of the Old Republic.
I guess when you think about it, though, I mean, the Star Wars games and the comics and all that's kind of what you went to, because, I mean, all right, think about it for a minute. When we were like in elementary school, that's probably when we were first discovering Star Wars, really, right? I mean,
yeah,
we saw it when we were kids, but we really probably saw it and understood it. We were in elementary school. So by that point, like, okay, that was Star Wars. That was cool. That's too bad that's all there is of it. And then once we hit probably, like, I want to say the mid-90s, that's when Lucas came out and announced that he's doing prequels.
Uh-huh.
So from there, we start getting more games. And once the first prequel comes out, between there, what we had to hold us over was video games and random comic books. Now, since that's all gone, I mean, I guess you can almost look at it. I mean, really, I'm not trying to sound like very cynical here, but obviously it was very formulated, because then there is the Clone Wars show. Clone Wars show, I guess, I don't know if it is over, but it's probably about to be over. They got the Rebel show on now.
Yeah, the Clone Wars show's over.
So I'm guessing what they were doing is they're probably just trying, like, well, the video games and the comics, this is stuff, expanding universe stuff, to kind of hold them over until that gets out. I guess we won't even need it as much now, because now we'll have some kind of Star Wars movie at least once a year, whether it be the main story or like just a spin-off.
Yeah, so it just seems like we'll be flooded with Star Wars greatness till I guess it comes to a point where people aren't interested in it anymore.
Yeah, or until like the world ends. I mean, this is just a reminder of our own mortality right here, but like, this kind of makes me, this is going to sound maybe kind of sad, just this is where my mind goes. But, we've all probably thought, maybe, I don't know if we've all thought this, about this particular thing, but I was thinking one day, like, you know what? One day I'm going to be dead, and they're still going to be making Batman movies.
I know. I think about that every once in a while. Well,
maybe depressing. I got very quiet there for a minute.
I know. It is kind of like, I thought about that myself too, is that these things live on, and that's almost like where you get sort of superhero stories are pretty much just the mythology stories of like pretty much the 1900s and into 2000s when you really break it down. But 1900s since it starts off, I mean, it's like the Greek myths, it's like the Bible. They're like the Norse gods and everything else around there of the modern age when you really break it down. Who knows, in 500 years that could be literally like the religion of the world.
Well, they're killing all like the Spider-Man fans were literally killing off Batman fans during the Great Scourge of they called it the Bat Purge of the 2030s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you never know though. It's like that's one of those ones. Like, and once things get the older something gets, the more it's looked upon. I mean, like for the perfect example is like, look at Star Wars has been around long enough now, and that's not even nearly as old as comic books, to actually generate an actual religion. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Back.
So 500 years into the future, these things will probably take over as religion because it will. I mean, it sounds like a strange thing to say here to some people, but like, you know, people are going to look to other things and they're going to realize that religion doesn't, you know, mean something's actually real. It's more values is what it is, and stories of good. And
yeah,
what?
Because I cut you off. Go ahead.
And as I say, and what do you know DC Marvel comics mostly represent? Stories of people doing good deeds and good values.
And I think that religion, basically, I'm not trying to like sound like a condescending dick or anything, but we are living in an age where less and less people are becoming religious. So I think that, like you said, people will turn to like something that's positive, yet still kind of adds a little bit of whimsy. And I think what we got right now is superheroes. In time, it's probably going to fade away to something else. But for now, that's what we got. So I think you got a good point right there. Eventually, that this will be. It sounds. I don't want to. I mean, it's in people's faces as much now, more so than what it was, probably as much as maybe religion was back in the olden days, you know?
Yeah, well, technically, I mean, what do you see more? I mean, just including, it depends what town you're in, but, like, in general, you mostly see, you have a higher chance of seeing something, let's just say superhero-oriented, whether it be DC, Marvel, or any other kind of group like that, and you sort of almost even see churches out there and whatnot.
I will say, I'm not trying to like sound like a dick here, but I do see more T-shirts with like a Batman or an Iron Man logo on them than I do a cross.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, as well as one's like not like bringing something else down, but I'm just saying that's kind of what it is. So what do you think's going to happen as the years go on?
Yeah.
But
well, anyway, man, not to be this guy, but I probably should cut this podcast off because I've got to charge this phone, and I got to go find a outlet somewhere in town that will let me sit there for 2 hours, let it charge for tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to do that. Well, that's probably a good place to leave off anyways. Well, make sure you go and check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, movies, animations, and more. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.